We moved into our new house just a few weeks ago. Yesterday, though now it seems so long ago, my mother handed me a strange and tattered list. Her eyes were unfocused and her movements were shaky. I asked her what was wrong, but she shuffled away without a word. Confused, I began to read.
Welcome to your new house. However this was delivered to you, it is vital that you follow each and every rule very carefully as long as you live here. Only you whoever received the letter is bound to the rules and their consequences. Please cross out any writing in strange penmanship.
1. If anything goes wrong in the events of Rule 2 or you don't follow Rule 3, you must go outside. Head to the kitchen and pour sea salt in a circle around you before covering your ears. Once the clock reads 5 o'clock, you can clear away the salt and go back to what you were doing. 2. If, at night, you hear a window creak open and you wake up, you must not show you're awake. Count to 30 in your head and try your best to go back to sleep. If something goes wrong, follow Rule 1. After an exasperated sigh, I stopped reading and let go of the worn-out paper, watching it drift to a stop, going right past the table I'd intended it land on, and going straight onto the floor. What a joke. Obviously, my mother must have thought it would be hilarious to mess with me like this. I stormed into the living room, where she sat in the recliner watching a Wheel of Fortune rerun on the cable TV. I showed her the list. What even is this? I asked. She stared at me blankly, looking a little confused. I don't know, what is it, hon? I tried to tell her that she'd given it to me just a few minutes before, but she denied it and said she'd been watching TV for the past half an hour. I knew I wouldn't get anywhere with it, so I walked away. On my way upstairs, I heard crying. I rounded the corner and found the source, a girl facing away from me with her hands covering her face, my older sister. I set a hand on her shoulder, asking her what was wrong. She turned around and I found that she was quite obviously not crying, but instead had an eerily calm and happy expression. Something about her face felt off. We sat there staring at each other for a moment, before she ran towards the stairs. I ran after her, but when I reached the stairs, she was gone. I went to ask my mother about it, but she frowned and told me that it was rude to lie. My sister had gone out that morning. Afterwards, she asked if I was feeling alright. I nodded and ran upstairs, passing a note on my sister's door that hadn't been there before. Going out to a party with friends. Be back at 10 p.m. Call if something's wrong. Sarah. I dashed towards the table where I dropped the rules and continued reading frantically. 3. Do not, under any circumstances, go outside at night, and if you find yourself outside of the house when night falls, stay out until day. If you don't follow this rule, for whatever reason, follow Rule 1. 4. If you see a family member facing away from you in a hallway and crying, stay away. It's not your family member. If you fail to do this, for 3 nights after the incident, you will be hunted down. During this period, none of the protective rules, I froze. I wanted to believe this was a joke, but my sister had never been a good actor. If it were fake, she'd have fallen over laughing before she could finish it, not to mention how could she vanish into thin air. I checked the clock. 9:31 p.m. Half an hour until showtime. I gathered up a kitchen knife and decided I'd rather stay somewhere public, where someone can protect me. Slipping the knife into my pocket, I headed downstairs and grabbed my mother's car keys. I googled what places might be open at night, but the only results were restaurants, and so I headed to the airport. Yes, to the airport, with a knife. I had bigger things on my mind at the time. When I got there, I glanced at my watch. 9:59, I watched as it ticked closer and closer to 10 p.m. Obviously, though, it must have been a bit off, as it showed 10 hours and 8 seconds when I heard the glass shattering. I watched in horror as a huge quadrupedal creature with smooth jet black skin and no eyes scuttled into the airport with passerbys not reacting. I thought I even saw the creature run through them once or twice. How could I be so stupid? Obviously they wouldn't acknowledge it as a monster. The rules had clearly stated that this was my burden and mine alone. Its jaws snapped from left to right as it sniffed the air, turning to face me while hissing. It bounded through the airport at me. Not knowing if it would be injured and not having much to lose, I swung at its exposed stomach. It stepped back, looking mildly annoyed. Then, it charged me again. Great, I'd succeeded in giving it a stomachache and securing myself a spot in the afterlife. I instinctively dashed to the side and simply got the crowd clawed out of my shoulder instead of my collarbone. I pushed through the crowd and surprisingly didn't get yelled or cursed at or acknowledged at all. I reached a dead end at the bath and body works shop. Why they had that at an airport, I didn't know. Desperately, I picked up a bottle of perfume and threw it at the monster. It reared back, repulsed. I quickly grabbed a can of shaving foam. I sprayed shaving foam into its nose. After discovering it could not, in fact, breathe the stuff, it began coughing. Obviously, I ran away while I could. I dashed into a side room and sat there for a moment, catching my breath. I heard an outraged roar as it stormed the airport, unable to smell for me. Shakily, I picked up a rock and threw it at the window behind me, hoping to shatter it. Unfortunately, it bounced off. The creature turned around, storming into the room. I saw its nose twitch and as it spun around, looking for me. Unfortunately, I saw it began to slow down as it turned towards me, and so I sprayed it in the nose again with my trusty shaving foam. I dashed around it as the monster tried to reorient itself, slashing my cheek in the process. I found a side entrance, likely for employees, and escaped into the parking lot. I fumbled with my mother's keys and finally managed to start the car. I heard it breaking through the glass. Would they fix it if it was caused by a monster? And tearing through the parking lot. Not being able to smell me, the creature seemed to be checking the most densely populated areas first. Taking this into consideration, I turned into the first exit and parked on the side of the road. Then, I walked to the nearest place devoid of people, which just so happened to be an abandoned warehouse. I hid behind one of the shelves, hoping to find some medical supplies. Instead, I found a cell connection. So that brings me to where I am right now, posting what's happening to me on Reddit, just in case I don't live through this. If I survive, I'll post an update. If I don't, well, you know what happened to me. Picking up where I left off last time, I was sitting behind a creaky shelf in a warehouse. It took me about an hour to finish writing the first part. Between paragraphs, I'd take a sip of dusty water and brainstorm ways to survive the night. A few minutes after I'd posted, I was gathering supplies in a rather tattered backpack when I heard the screeching of metal being torn apart. Turning around, I saw the creature tearing through the walls, having recovered from the eucalyptus-scented shaving cream. It sniffed the air, and immediately its attention snapped to me. I knew the shaving cream was mostly empty, and so I threw it at the monster, full force. It roared, more annoyed than injured, judging from how it didn't flinch and instead swiped at its surroundings, trying to hit me. I picked up the backpack, not bothering to put it on, and dashed through the hole it had made in the wall, but it turned around, smashing the window next to me, giving me a few unappreciated cuts. I practically flew to my car, almost dropping my keys as I started the engine. Deciding that, well, if they couldn't see me, I couldn't get fined, I ignored almost every traffic law. I mean, if that thing caught up to me, I'd be dead anyways. I weaved through traffic, not knowing exactly where I wanted to be. I checked my rearview mirror. Seemingly irritated that it couldn't see the cars, it fell behind, stumbling through the road. For once, I was glad to live in such a heavy traffic area. I checked the rear-view mirror, and it was gone. I thought for a moment and decided to go home, hoping people would be able to see me during the day. If not, I could at least get the rules. I arrived home about a half hour later, since traffic had started to pick up. When I walked in, I noted, relieved that neither my sister nor my mother had woken up yet. I went to sleep after a long night, happy to finally be out of danger. That is, until I heard a window opening. I'm not sure when, maybe an hour or two later. The second rule flashed into my head and I kept my eyes closed. After counting to 30, I fell asleep. It was about 9 a.m. when I woke up again. I decided to go out and read the rest of the rules, since, well, now that I knew only the protective rules didn't apply, I had to watch out. It could have been any other rule that I'd needed, and I wouldn't have known it. 5. In the events of hearing a knock at the door, you must always look through the peephole first. If it is a delivery person, do not open the door. They know to leave it. In extension to this rule, you must bring it to whoever it belongs to. If this person isn't in your family, you must leave it NEA. 6. Never go into the room with a gray door. All real doors in the house are white. If someone asks you to go in, whether it be alone or with them, you must decline. Real other people cannot see the door. 7. In the events of a man in a white cap asking you to follow him, accept. If you don't, you must immediately apologize. This way, you might be spared. Apologies, there isn't really much in the way of hope for those who decline. I decided that first on my to-do list would be checking if anyone could see me during the day. I knocked on my sister's door, but it swung open and I saw that it was empty. Of course, it was 9 a.m. She'd be at her day job. Oh well. But this was something I needed to know. After a quick Google search, I dialed the nearest pizza place. They seemed to hear me well enough. When they came to the door, they seemed to see me just fine. I concluded that people could see me during the day, just not at night. How inconvenient. There goes my plan of stealing everything at Walmart. I spent the day gathering supplies and pretending I wasn't in danger of dying when I spoke to my family. In the old tattered backpack, I added some clean water, a few granola bars, some money, matches, shaving cream, and a metal pipe for self-defense. Hey, it's all they had. The matches were to make a fire in case of emergency, and see if that thing was flammable. I checked my watch when my mother and sister finally went to sleep. 9 p.m. Enough time to hop on a train, just in hopes of the creature taking some time to catch up. I handed my ticket in and sat down in my seat. It was 10:30 p.m. when I saw it catching up to the train. It wasn't the same creature. I shook myself out of it, and for just a moment it looked like a 7-foot-tall humanoid. What little hair it has is long and thin, and its eyes are devoid of emotion. Yikes. Definitely not my Aunt Jennifer. This thing is definitely a lot smarter. It picked the lock of, mind you, a moving train, and calmly walked in. One woman's purse was knocked out of the train, but she didn't even notice. Each and every passenger seemed not to care. It called my name. Alex, there you are. Come with me. We're having pasta for dinner. It hadn't spotted me yet, so it said this in a warm and loving voice while it stormed from car to car, looking around and storming to the next. Somehow, it passed by me. Come on, Alex, where are you? It's not nice to hide from your friend. It began to look more agitated, passing through each train car again until it locked its eyes on me. There you are. Not exactly being in the mood to die, I hit it in the head with my backpack. Clang! It fell to the floor. I'd been hoping it would stay that way, but it started to get up. Luckily, the train had reached a stop. I jumped out just as it got up and slammed its fists against the window angrily. I'm writing this at the train station. I'm worried it'll break out and Signing off, your formerly anonymous host, Alex.